7th meeting of the Berlin Cultural Council at 7:41 p.m. Open session, public meetings are subject to being recorded. Your image and voice will be recorded. My apologies. Okay, first order of business is the minutes. Do we have any discussion on the minutes from our last meeting? Okay, do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I should officially announce now that we officially have a meeting. There are cookies. Half of them are anise, the other half are lemon.
Oh my gosh.
So, like, eat as much as you want, because I've got a lot. And I'm going to start. So, drink, and then I brought back for the leftovers.
Just put it on top of the microphone.
Oh.
That explains it.
Sorry, Max.
Sorry, Max. Better organized at getting them than distribute. Okay, so yeah, that's why I knew you weren't going to eat many, so
Take
I
some home, you know
yeah.
that.
So, make sure that isn't a relevant email. Chris is going to be a bit late. Okay. So continuing, so the few things to report. I did finally send an email to the town administrator / the administrative assistant for our changes to the website. You know, I wait until like pretty much end of the fiscal year to actually get that done, but it has been sent. I think it was comprehensive of all the things we're trying to change, which, and is that?
That is Chris.
Hello!
Sorry, I sent you an email.
Yeah, I just noticed the email. It's like,
Alright.
I should check whether this email is relevant. We only just started, so, you missed the minutes being approved.
Oh.
But-
There were cookies.
And cookies. Can I
Thank
get
you.
everyone's names since
Okay, yes, that might be helpful.
I don't know everybody.
Okay, so, I was going,
I know you.
yeah. So I was going to make introductions a bit later, but let's jump ahead then. Would you care to introduce yourself so we can record you in the minutes?
Excellent, thank you. I'm Tracy Landry, I live at 39 Carter Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tracy.
And you used to be on the Cultural Council some time ago.
Well, I'm Maxwell Sardello. I live at 2 Donho Drive.
Okay.
We should let them know who we are too.
Yep.
No, yeah.
So there's no
That
secrets.
part.
This way?
Sure.
Chris Christensen, 197 Lancaster Road. That's where I live.
Okay.
You were on Lancaster Road.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I pick up trash there. All the time. I live on Randall.
Oh.
Okay. Well, I'm MJ and I'm 35 Carter Street, which is why my poor neighbor has gotten distracted.
I'm Jessica, I'm on Bailey Road.
Deborah, I live at 292 Randall.
And I'm Sandy Reardon, I live at 32 Barnes Hill Road.
Well, it's nice to meet you all.
Okay, so, yeah, so before I sing, so finally got email to try to get website changed. I have not heard a reply back yet, but I think they are probably super behind on everything right now. Yeah, usually sometime towards the end of June, we all get an email for, you know, who wants to stay on committees they're on and such, and that has not gone out, so. And when I looked earlier, there, no select board meeting has been posted yet for Monday, so I don't know whether that's even part of their agenda. So, I mean, part of why we've invited you to join us is because on the state level, our terms are 3 years, and you can only do 2 3-year terms in a row. So, come August, Justin and I can't be on the cultural council for a year, so, and we can have more than 5 people, but we need to have a minimum of 5 for the state to give us money. So, trying to make sure that is filled, but, given on the town level, that on June 30th, we all are not, I think the general rule that that works in government and such is until someone new has been replaced, you're kind of considered to be on it. So I think if, like, one of us had a term that was up and one of us didn't, that it would apply, but if we're all, out of office, that the committee would be considered to still need to keep working, so I think we should still be okay for signing paperwork and such, and certainly I won't.
There's no escape.
Yeah, but I mean, I assume that the accountant will still process anything if it's just they have not.
Covering all the bases right now.
And until I was hoping, we could settle getting in new people, and then when it came time to reappoint, that Jess and I would just not get reappointed and save the work of resigning. But I think so long as it's in limbo and we're still appointed through a state side, I will continue to work from that perspective. Especially we've had some complications with a couple of grants. One of the library ones, the origami, had to be postponed because it was going to happen the day of the special town meeting, and that was not a good day to have anything. So that is going to be on the 2nd. The problem with that is we were paying that with Berlin money, which after June 30th goes back to the town. So Deborah had to shuffle some things around so that a different grant would get paid by town money, and we could pay that one for happening after the end of the fiscal year. And then Davis Bates had a program, which I forget the exact title of, library program that was supposed to be Saturday, and no one ended up showing up. So he has agreed, he and the library director, so I guess one person showed up. He's willing to come back to try to do it another time, so long as the library will pay for his transportation, which they're willing to do. And so, since, I mean, he did his part, he showed up, we're gonna pay the grant out, because it's another one that needed to be done in the fiscal year. But, at least as far, Deborah and I talked about this, and I think we're both of the feeling that if he's willing to come back and do it in spite of the fact that, we're more than happy to cut the check now. I mean, I think we would have to, but, I don't feel any,
I don't think that's ever happened before.
No,
Yeah.
it has.
Nobody show up.
yeah.
Wow.
But, Saturday was kind of a rainy day, and I think a lot of other things were going on, so, but, so that moves on to anything additional treasury wise to
No, I haven't
report.
seen anything yet about our MCC money in terms of, I expect in about 2 weeks, I'll see what's in the MCC account, and then also what our BCC account is.
Yeah.
Because June will go through it and I'll have to justify everything, but as far as it looks right now, everything of our fiscal year money will be paid out. The only thing I'm waiting for is the Honky Tonk Piano Man, which is
Saturday.
I
Yeah.
believe, and as soon as that's done, I can submit everything. He's been pretty good about submitting the paperwork very quickly, and as long as it's in by July 17th, then I won't have to fill out any encumbrances.
Okay, that's good.
So, and if it isn't, fill out the form. So,
Okay,
everything's under control.
okay.
But I
so-
have no report about the MCC money at this point. We haven't really, well, the only money that'll come out of it, will be when we had to pay, we had to switch around the payments for the one that had to be rescheduled. We had to take some from the BCC money and some from the MCC money, so that's small amount, it was like $230.
Yeah.
Would be coming off. I just put that in the mailbox Monday.
For context, so the state gives us what's now, I think, been working out to like around 6,000.
I think it was like 55 this year, I think.
Yeah, so the bulk of our money comes from the state, but we also have a line item in the town budget for 1,500, so because so, I mean, when deciding on the grants, it's all one big pool of money, but when actually sending out award letters, we have, because the town, anything that we pay with the state money, if something happens and that doesn't go on, the money goes back to us, but anything from the town funds, if it's not by June 30th, it goes back to the town, which we had some fun with back in 2020 when a lot of things were getting postponed and someone kept insisting that we should be paying them when we legally had no ability to pay them for something that would happen later.
That
And
never happened, yeah.
and that required eventual having like the town administrator write them a letter and all of that. So we do our best to and Deborah, the hardest job is the treasurer's job. Has been good about trying to make sure that we are sending the money that has to be done by June to ones that will hopefully be done then, and we've now taken to having in our award letters explicitly saying that for those ones that it has to be completed by June 30th to try to avoid further complications. So yeah, was that the,
That's really all there is
Okay.
to say,
so,
unless anybody has any questions.
so next item of the agenda is the introduction to, so you've been introduced, so basically we meet about 6 times a year. Basically, we only exist to give out this grant money, so, you know, usually around August we have a meeting after, you know, everything's been sort of out of, you know, whose terms up, blah, 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 to, you know, elect, you know, chair, clerk, that sort of thing. And then we deal with, setting our council priorities so that before the grant season starts, any changes we wanna make and what we tell people we're looking for, which generally speaking, there isn't any significant changes we make, but each year we have to do a community survey, which is our next item on the agenda, going over that. So in theory, anything that in this meeting we see about that would, you know, then in the next meeting, you know, for changing before the grant cycle. Then, so the grant cycle goes, you know, when there aren't crazy things happening in the world, opens like September 1st and goes through mid-October, and then it takes a little while before we necessarily get all that information officially. There's now, they have a website that's in about 3 years or so for called Smart Simple, which is neither smart nor simple, but where we can look at all the grants that come in, and so what we end up doing is, so sometime in around November, we'll have a meeting to decide which grants we are going to approve, and then a second meeting in like a month or so to divvy up what money we have. So we do it in 2 stages because anyone we don't approve can appeal. So if we gave out all the money in that one meeting and someone appealed and we decided to reconsider it, then, so that's why since they have 2 weeks to, you know, appeal, we, you know, leave kind of a month between the 2 meetings. We've never, in my time, had anyone appeal a rejection, but, you know, so we end up having about $7,000 though to give out, but requests are coming out around like, say, 13,000, so, you know, we use different criteria to, you know, kind of decide which ones to accept or not. Ones that aren't happening local to Berlin, we tend to reject for, Sins in Worcester and Boston. A lot of those things they'll, ask for every, cultural council in the county. Or there was one last year that was like for a Haitian food festival that was only going to be taking place on university campuses, and they were asking for rather exorbitant amounts of money. And we kind of feel, things aren't close to Berlin. That's, not a best use of our fiscal resources. We try to keep some balance between, the different groups that are applying for money. The library tends to be sponsoring a lot of programs. The seniors have a couple, 19 Carter, Link for the school, so we kind of try to give some balance. If there's something that's new programs that hasn't happened before versus programs that keeps coming up every year, then in the end it's usually just, okay, well, after we've approved them all, it's still like, say, $9,000 or what have you. It's like, okay, who can we cut $50 from here or there? Who has other funding sources that can pick up the difference? So like the library programs, often the Friends of the Library will make up the difference of what we can't. So, so we have the 2 meetings to decide on the money, then usually a short meeting in January to, for our report, for the annual town report. Like as chair, I've been writing it the past few years, which is a lot of cut and paste from previous years, but that's something that needs to be approved by the committee. But, and, every once in a while, if, sometimes with the grants, they're ones we're trying to get more information on, so sometimes we, instead of having one meeting voting on them, we'll hold the consideration of them. So, sometimes another meeting comes up here or there, but usually I'd say 6 is about the max time for any of our meetings. And really, other than going over the grants themselves, those 2 meetings, really the only ones that are, long substantive meetings. So it's not a huge time suck. The past couple of years we've been meeting Thursday at this time because that's kind of worked out best, but we're, not one of those committees where it's like, we meet Thursdays and been doing it for years. Like we used to meet on Mondays for a while. We were meeting on Fridays, so whoever is on the committee in a couple of months, obviously we'll schedule a meeting for that time. But, after that, if, you all decide, hey, Wednesdays work better for, you can make it whatever day you want, provided, you can find the space, here. Or we still, I think through next spring, the governor's order will allow for Zoom meetings. So we've kind of found it a little easier at the moment, having gone back to in-person. But again, that's, an option that you guys can take for that. So, assuming having been scared off and looking to come back on, basically there will just be there's a form. Hold on, let me go back. Just pull around my computer. Think about that thing. So on the town website, there is just a form that I think probably the forms and documents. So that's the town website, and hold on, do we have volunteer application form? So you basically just fill out a little form that for the select board saying you want to volunteer to cultural council. It really doesn't ask a heck of a lot of questions. And then what committees generally do to, before the select board, decides on that, they will ask the committee in question whether they're, support having this person on. So that's another reason why we're having this meeting, so that we can say we support having you on and, save the time of, once the select board gets it, don't have to wait to make a decision. And let's see, so also So, this is Smart Simple, so, log on, so just as a quick, idea of how, some of this looks, so, you know, it just, you know, you get something, you go to grant cycle, so, you know, this is kind of how it'll come up, so so this is like last year, so when, you know, October rolls around and that's all done, you know, you go on here, look at the different grants and, you know, open it up and it gives you, you know, various information about the project, the budget, et cetera. So they used to be, you know, all printed out and sent to us, I guess, back in the old days. So now it is all electronic and
Back in the day.
it is, yeah, I probably should have toned that a little better, but it's not always the most intuitive system. Smart Simple seems a bad name for it, but you know, it's fairly easy to get, you know, once you get set up on there, you can just, you know, look at all of that stuff there, and it's also helpful when we're discussing it and sometimes like, okay, we've got the computer, you know, detail of that. So, is there anything else I have not thought to say about what we do?
I think it's a pretty simple project or process. We're we've always made sure that we've devoted money to different parts of the community and tried to do it as fairly as possible so that different age groups are, you know, getting something.
And in their grant applications, they're supposed to tell us if they have funding resources outside of the grant and what they are. So when we have to go and say, who can we pull $50 from, it lets us know sort of which groups can actually make up that difference or how necessary that difference is.
Yeah,
Just helps for
like
figuring out that budget.
this past cycle, there was one who, in their response to the question about what other funding sources, you know, said basically that, you know, the time they put in, blah, 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 they, you know, respectfully request the full amount, and like, okay, well, we don't have the money to really do that, and your inability to demonstrate that you have a plan B for that, you know, we didn't feel, you know, some hard decisions, you know, sometimes there are things that you've been supporting for a few years and you really wanna keep supporting it and, you know, have to say no. So that was one where, you know, they kind of had shown themselves out the door, if I can put it that way.
Shot themselves in the foot.
Yes.
And also just if, like, this past year, the library requested essentially our entire budget. So we had to figure out how do you know, explain that, no, you can't have all of these, or if you do, we're slashing the amount of money
Yeah.
that
They
we fund
really
each one of them.
stepped up their programming though, I mean, it
Right.
was just like
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy.
Because we can't just fund only the library, you know, we've got
Yeah,
lots of
so-
other groups in town who,
Yeah, and, you know, just trying to find that balance of, you know, okay, how much can we cut before it's just too small amount, you know, so we kind of try to make sure that the ones that we have supported, that we can, for the most part, support a good portion of what they asked for, you know. There's sometimes ones where we've given just a small amount to something that, you know, we thought was worthwhile enough to throw a little bit towards, but was kind of outside of, you know, it's on the edge of what we would have, you know, approved or not, but,
Yeah, they were really large projects that were
yeah,
looking throughout the entire state for money,
yeah.
And
which
there's
were good
things-
projects, but we didn't have the amount of money.
Yeah, yeah, I think that the
or
one.
things like the healing garden.
Yeah, and like, I think the farthest afield we approved was, for, the Fitchburg Art Museum, their craft fair. We, I think, gave them half of what they're asking for from us, I want to say, and that was something where there are, you know, people in Berlin who, you know, participate in that and stuff, so we we felt that while it was geographically a bit distant, that it did kind of, you know, fit what we were, looking to support. But, and of course, you know, this is how we've been doing things, but, you know, that doesn't, you know, the precedent doesn't mean that things can't change, you know, if, you know, come around, you know, this year and, you know, you feel there are more things you wanna, you know, do the money different with, that's an option.
Actually, there is one other thing. Sometimes you have to recuse yourself. Like, I was the co-president for the school district CPAC, so when they came up with a, request, I had to not be involved in.
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
that.
so that brings up an important, so when you do send your thing to the select board, so they have a meeting, they, you know, vote you in, so the two things you have to do before you get on is, one, you have to go to Eloise and do an oath of office. And then the state requires every 2 years a, conflict of interest law thing, which it's online.
Oh, the ethics?
Yeah, and the thing about it is, it's one of those things that if you get wrong, you can re-answer the question, so it's not like you pass, fail, it's just like, and,
It's just time
I
consuming.
had to
Yes.
do that for
It's
my, I
really
have two
time
jobs, and I
consuming.
have to do it for both of my both my
Oh.
jobs. And
Yeah.
you can't double dip, but you have to do both, so.
Jeez.
that's-
yeah,
So the old hat
So
for
I'll do
you.
3.
yeah, I've had
Should know
to
all
do
the
it a few
answers
times
by now.
between this committee and community preservation, and every time I do it, it's like, okay, I'm seeing either the loopholes in what the law is or what the training is, but some of those loopholes are just a little too obvious to me, but I've joked about that with Eloise, and she's complained that no one's ever offered her a bribe. But yeah, so I mean, so that, you know, oath of office is quick, you just have to hit what, you know, the office hours of the town clerk, which I think is, I wanna say, like, early afternoon for a couple hours, Tuesday and Thursday, and then evening, Wednesday, so, you know, set up, so.
I think it has shifted now, you could probably find it on the website.
Yeah, well, I
But
know that.
they just made up.
Yeah, well, I know they
hours.
changed the hours for the select board's office and, treasurer, and then the whole of the offices are closed Friday, but I think the town clerk's office hours are probably the same, but the point of it is that there is an evening option and a day option, so, you know, you're not stuck of, oh, I'm working 9 to 5, I can, you know, you should be, and I'm sure, you know, you really weren't able to come at those times, that Eloise or James would probably,
And Eloise and James are really nice.
yeah.
They're easy to work with.
But yeah, so, other than like the hour of your life spent on the conflict of interest law training, that is the biggest hurdle, you know, to,
It's a pain in the neck.
it is a pain in the neck. But, okay, I think that, do you have any questions?
For now, I'm all set.
Okay. So then, the other major item on tonight's agenda, so every year we're supposed to do community survey, and we have attempted that in past on SurveyMonkey to, not the greatest results, because we've tried to do the not pay for version, so we could only look at 10 of the responses, and it just didn't work out well. So this year, we opted to do an actual written survey, which we asked a few of the places that were doing programs this year if they would hand out, and they were very, you know, accommodating in that regard. I was afraid, you know, that they're gonna find a pain in the neck. We did supply them some pencils, which reminds me that Judy mailed back hers, and we got some pens and, oh.
them with their friends.
But, so
And
we
it's like a
gave
lovely
some,
note,
to,
too.
yeah, so that was, I think, what she read out at the meeting, which you can probably toss, I just left it in there. But yeah, so we had, the seniors for their, we paid for, or, yeah, for, they did a movie event at the mall, they rented out a theater, and, so we have some survey responses from that, and, then we got some from 19 Carter for, the improv. We gave some to the library, so we, instead of last year where we had 17 responses and could look at 10, I think we have about 35, so what I will do, so I've looked at them, Jess has looked at them, I will break them up into, just wanna, skim through them and, pass them, around. I considered, making a report on it, but I figured it is a little more fun to just kind of look around and, see kind of what the responses were. So, couple of things I know, one of the questions, we asked them what programs they had gone to before, and we didn't explicitly in the question say cultural council programs. So there are a couple of mentions of things that were programs that we didn't do. So in future years, we might want to tighten up that question, but also people may not know
They might not know what
whether
was
they
going
were or
on.
not. So I found it a little, I personally found it interesting to kind of get those responses, because, there weren't things that we could have done, like someone had mentioned, thinking estate planning, thing that was probably at 19 Carter, and then there was, I think, something else of that ilk. Yeah, a couple of things that were like, helpful things to like,
I did look at these ones.
for seniors, but, just kind of, people seem to, I think, mostly be more knowledgeable about things than I thought. They listed some, programs we've done. We asked them, what kind of programs they were into of different categories, what they'd like to see, the agricultural, nature ones, history, music, etc. And it seems, looking at the responses, that it's pretty even between the various categories. So none of it jumped out at me and anything that we'd be liable to wanna change what we,
Fund.
yeah, or, and that's one of the things with the
Probably should
survey is,
pass these a little faster.
yeah, but,
Making a pile over here.
but, yeah, so the survey is one of those things that is kind of a perfunctory thing that maybe in some other communities does more. I don't, it used to only be required every 3 years, and at some point it became every year, and we kind of dropped the ball on noticing that right away, so we've been playing a little catch up. But there's actually chair of one of the cultural councils, I forgot where, had sent out a survey to people trying to basically get the MCC to go back to doing it every 3 years. So, it doesn't seem like, necessarily, does a lot to have to certain, but I mean, it seems like things are, people know about some things, it seems a good number new, re-exist in what we do, so I felt the survey kind of was,
Oh, I was gonna pass them
Oh,
over
okay.
that way.
but,
Yeah, looking at the survey, I think what I would
Mixed
like
up
to
some.
see was,
Some of them you saw.
us to add which one they actually went to.
yeah,
Because as I'm reading it, some of the time I could tell.
Yeah.
Because I think I mainly got the senior thing.
yeah.
But, can you describe what you thought about? Great, well, what program was it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
mean-
do the
So I think we
programming.
need to add
Some of them
that.
did write it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of them
Yeah.
wrote it
A
up at the
few.
top,
Yeah.
and if
But-
we,
And before
Most
I
of
started
these-
handing them around, they were at one point kind of separated, and I probably should have kept them better separated, but,
Almost all of them though are 50 and older,
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of them.
so it's a little skewed.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's probably because
The library
Probably
programs,
got them,
you
you know.
know, probably are not filling out, you know, them, but, I mean, that's also part of the demographic of the town is that the median age in Berlin is 10 years higher than the county as a whole. So,
I mean, a good number of them seem to also have brought either their grandchildren or just children.
Yeah.
Cause there's quite a few of them in the pile that I just, I don't know. what
yeah,
those-
well, I think the question was
Think
asking,
there.
about who they had in their household. Cause I
Yeah.
think that
Oh,
we're kind of,
yeah.
so
Household
not
ages.
necessarily to the event, but, you know, we're just trying to, you know, I think in theory, you know, if someone's filling it out, that,
Can I make a suggestion
Take a look
for
at this.
next year?
yeah, fine.
Would be to maybe in the fall meeting, if there's questions that you want adjusted, adjust them then, but then leave these with places like 19 Carter, the library,
Yeah,
the Council on Aging office, so that every time they run a program, they
Yeah.
can just bring the stack with them of
Yeah.
unfilled out ones.
yeah,
It might just make it easier to
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think,
get more of a rounded view
Yeah.
of things.
yeah. Well, I think, you know, thus far, this proved a overall successful way of doing it, so I think
What was
that,
that?
just,
Like, she spells it out before.
Yeah.
I don't know, let me write this
yeah.
I like a lot of these just say good movie.
down.
Yeah, and it was funny too, so well, what the heck was the name of the movie? Anyway, the movie, apparently has like a lot of swearing in it, and, Judy Mills, who is the president of the Berlin Seniors, was a little
So, yeah.
disconcerted by the level of swearing, and so she sent a thank you note, and it kind of mentioned, you know, that she felt a bit scandalized by that, but that people had, you know, been polite about it, and then looking at the results, I don't think anyone was, you know, I think Judy was the only one really.
You're hard pressed to find a movie that,
Yeah, well, I did in my response to her, pointed her towards IMDb.com, which usually has fairly extensive parental reviews, but I think what she was considering something that would be offensive to the crowd, might have been indicative of that age bracket in an earlier generation, but probably not so indicative of that age bracket, current times. I think, our current crop of seniors, I would gather are not quite so scandalized by that, but she thought the program worked well otherwise, and seemed to be,
Seemed to get a lot of positive feedback. I was surprised at how many of the seniors did not know about that it was being supported by the Cultural Council.
yeah.
Yeah.
Improv, definitely, they all knew, 19 Carter, they knew.
Yeah,
from,
well, I
the
think,
NCC.
I'd have to look at that note again, but, I mean, I think, it definitely was on the poster and such, and I think probably, I'm not sure if it was mentioned or not, but the seniors are usually pretty, so for any program we put on, any of the press is supposed to, mention that and some have been better at others than doing that. I mean, I don't think any of us here really are worried about credit for credit's sake, but, knowing that this is something we do means that, people know to apply for it for, future programs, so.
It helps people who wanna know where their tax money's going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lets them know that.
There's quite a few people care about that recently.
Yeah.
Lets them know.
Yeah, thankfully, our budget is small, and there was,
Again,
a
we're
few
first
years ago,
back.
we did try to see if we could get 2,000 from the town instead of 1,500, and then COVID came around, and that wasn't happening, and at this point, generally, 2.5% increases are okay, but when you've got $1,500, like 2.5%, like, if you're not gonna make it another 500, like what,
Yeah.
why bother? So I think, past few years, we've just tried to, keep the level budget. I mean, I'm grateful we get that. It'd be nice if we had some more money and didn't have to make as many difficult decisions with it, but at the same time, I wouldn't wanna have the same amount of money as we're being asked for, because there's some that just aren't good uses of the town money. So I think if we had, had a couple thousand more, it'd be a nice balance, but I think it usually works. And personally, I think if we didn't have any difficult decisions to make, like, why would we be here? Like, if it's just a rubber stamp, I don't think that serves much purpose. So I think it's good to have a, little difficult decision here or there with that, but that's just my view on that. So anything else we want to say about the community survey at the moment?
One of them on it wrote yes for the, did you know the program received funding, and then also wrote a little note that stated that he only knew, or they only knew specifically because somebody had mentioned that, while quite a few of them still wrote no, even after getting
Yeah.
the survey. So I'm kinda confused, cause if somebody did say that and people were still unaware, it kinda defeats the point of mentioning it.
Yeah, it's just one of the requirements that the MCC puts down, on the actual application when someone who writes the grant, it says that there's a whole write-up about how you have to do it. You have to show the logo, and you'll probably notice it now more, that you're aware of it. If you look at some of the posters that are around, even in other communities, they'll have the logo, or even in a brochure if you go to a music event a lot of times. So that's why we push it, is because the
I'm not saying it's a
MCC
bad thing, I'm just saying, cause as you were saying beforehand, we don't do this for credit's sake, we'd rather, that way more people can ask for grants, more people can maybe join up.
Be aware.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Some
But-
people probably talk through when the people,
Yeah,
when the
I-
people are
Point
making that
there.
little announcement.
Yeah, I
Or they're
think,
eating cookies.
yeah, I think, I don't know, I'm not sure how much I would, if I was going to an event, pay attention to who's sponsoring it, unless it's, hey, this beer company is sponsoring it and here's this beer to go with it. Then I might pay attention more, but if the event is free and I'm not getting, and the event is one, I'm.
So gift cards.
Yeah, there you go.
But I mean, there are, some cultural councils do more sort of outreach, some committees, they have their own Facebook pages or whatnot. I think we've always kind of considered ourselves a fairly bare bones operation of not wanting to, and I mean, certain things like the library puts out, they'll put up on Facebook, most of the stuff is gonna get advertised, and it's not our responsibility to do that anyway, so, I mean,
It's also a balance, cause you don't wanna get inundated with
yeah.
tens of thousands of dollars of grant requests. When
Yeah.
we only have
Yeah.
7,000.
Yeah,
But,
agreed.
but I mean, but whether in future the council wants to, do something different in terms of outreach, again, that, the way we've been doing things is not set in stone of the way things have to go. It's just, a matter of, what people's time commitments are, what level, the great thing about this committee is, it is, one of the easiest, I think it's clear to see what the benefit of the committee is, but it's not one that requires a lot of time and energy, unlike, some that probably regret having volunteered to whatever they're on.
You guys might have all sorts of new ideas that haven't occurred to any of us.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
I think the bottom line is, people know about the cultural council if they know about writing a grant, and they have the need for it. People going to a program don't necessarily know, and it's kind of the best kept secret
Yeah.
that, you know, there's this little funding going on behind the scenes, but
Yeah.
I remember oh God, I can't remember what they're called. The sign that moves around periodically, but it's usually across the street from the thrift store
oh,
area.
yeah,
It used to sometimes say stuff about
The
things the
board.
cultural council was sponsoring,
Mhm.
but I think that's just whoever's running whatever the program is.
Yeah.
If they
It's up
got
to
their
them
stuff
to
up
put
there.
it on there or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get something on that sign.
Yes, I've learned
Very
that.
hard.
Who's in charge of that sign?
I don't remember who.
Was it the
I spoke
highway?
with.
I knew once.
Oh, I do
The
know
highway
because
department, but I don't think
we
so.
went round and round, we were trying to promote the fair, the
Yeah.
fall fair. And because it was a church, they said no. Like, wait, it's a community thing, you know, but,
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah.
no, it is what it is, but.
Well, if you were in Oklahoma, I'm sure they would.
Yeah,
they would.
along with that, along with the Ten
Now,
Commandments.
now.
Well, no, Louisiana's the Ten Commandments
Oh, yeah,
one.
Louisiana.
Oklahoma is now the Bible has to be curriculum.
Mm.
Seriously? Oh,
Yes.
my.
Yeah, that was in the
I
news
think I
today.
heard about that.
They got a lot more curriculum to add then.
Yeah, I hope.
Apparently,
It's gonna
it's
cover
integral
everything.
for knowing American history. America.
I don't know where you're supposed to fit in all the things in Europe then.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, if there's nothing more about the survey we want to go into, I was thinking we could discuss when the next meeting would tentatively be. I could, post, get it set up, as far as the town, saying, well, I'm still empowered to do so. I was thinking you'd probably wanna meet again in August. There's nothing that would come up in July, so hopefully by August, assuming you're still not scared away, you can get you appointed and get the paperwork settled to get you on.
Because the grants, they open September 1st?
Yeah,
Usually.
so any updates on our priorities would have to be set in August, so that's why, so the meeting in August would presumably be, unless, something new really gets added, would just be, voting, a new chair and.
So, end of August or mid-August?
I think probably earlier mid, just so if there is anything that needs to get changed in terms of the.
Yeah, I forget something usually comes out in August about fixing up the priorities for
Yeah.
the council, making sure that we all have what we think is important for our council in
Yeah,
the smart and simple system, so the people who are writing the grants and they look and see what we require in Berlin, like having someone who is sponsoring your event,
yeah,
okay, so which we have always felt it was important that the artists come in and connect with someone at the library or
Yeah,
someone at
so they
19
have a
Carter,
venue.
or, so that we
Mhm.
know that they're being supported by someone in the community, that they've spoken to them and feel that their program is worthwhile. So I know that is one of the things that we've always felt was
Yeah.
important.
yeah. So, do people feel that, would you think you'd wanna keep this kind of date and time? Is there another day that works better for you guys?
Yeah, it works for me.
Okay. And anyone going away in August that has to worry about whether they're here or not?
But I can potentially be here, I'm just gonna be at the Cape,
Okay.
and I love to get away by myself.
Well-
Sorry. I just wanna go home.
Well, when are you going to the Cape, and do you want me to try to schedule this when you're there or when you're not?
It's, just do it. Yeah, just do it, and I'll tell you if it really is bad, and, yeah, schedule it at whatever, other people can.
So, in theory, would you guys want
That's
to
not what-
meet, say, 7:30 Thursday, August 15th?
Works.
Sounds good.
And again, like, that can be, some committees, they try to set all their meetings out for the year. We kind of just try to take care of it as we go along. So if that doesn't prove a good time, it can be changed, but I will put that in as a meeting time, and that should hopefully get plenty of time to get you guys appointed, again, if we haven't scared you off. And, yeah, so then the 5 of you would be good to go into the next year, and,
Do you want me to come to that meeting or no?
well, you can come, but by that point, you
Somebody
will,
else will be
you will
secretary.
be
Yeah.
totally out. But
I don't
the
think that's
cultural, there is, some precedent of people, sometimes hanging about to not vote, but, still participate, and even in like the system, it keeps you in there, so, I mean, I myself am looking to probably like rejoin again after my year is up, so assuming meetings continue to fit in, I would aim to come and be able to share any wisdom of how things have, the institutional knowledge, I don't wanna leave anyone feeling too overburdened, especially since someone else will have to be chair, because I cannot do it.
Somebody else will have to be secretary.
But, okay, so I will schedule a tentative meeting for that day with the agenda of electing officers and priorities and, treasurer's update, the usual, so in theory, not a very long meeting that you'd have then. And I assume we are all good for giving our support to the select board appointing our 2 friends here?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate
Appreciate
you.
It's the other way around.
Yeah.
Very much.
Being a small town, that's why some of us are on multiple committees, is, yes, a lot of people do not have the time, and a lot of the interest, it is hard to fill all of these things, and, unlike other committees that run with 5 people but can make do with 3, the state really wants us to have 5, so that's something we've been struggling to make sure we can do, and, been grateful to also be able to have some diversity in our demographic, having it not just, it's easy enough to more or less to find, people for committees, but then it's like, okay, it's always, the same few people, the same, we're an older town, so nice to not all be, stuck with that, try, not that, I mean, I think we all look with an aim for diversity in what we're supporting, but it's nice that we can,
It's always good to have other points of view,
yes, and I think
very important.
I can speak for everyone, and we've been very grateful to have you join, Chris. You have provided some fresh perspective, and, happy to get you started on the long slog of years and years of trying to keep the town running.
Well, I'm here for it, so.
Yes. Okay, well, I said that.
Not to mention, it's fun to give away money.
Yeah,
That's for sure, I mean.
I could never do that.
We make a lot of people happy.
Yeah.
And as chair, I have to say that one of my favorite times each year is when I'm, putting my name to sign off on grant award letters of, thousands of dollars every year.
Cha-ching.
I am a
Cha-ching.
patron of the arts,
There you
whi-
go.
which makes the 1 year having to take off all the more upsetting, but
Max, could you spell your last name for me?
SORDILLO.
Thank you.
okay. So, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, and that is non-debatable. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So the meeting is adjourned at 8:36 PM. Thank you
Alright.
all.